Let's pick up where we left off, shall we? My name is Bex, and Alchemy is done. Now, how does Alchemy work in Chopping Block? Well, it's easy. First, you put in your Warped Wort, that's gonna be your fuel. Basically, Warped Wort is to Alchemy what Blaze Powder is to brewing. Then you're gonna want your Philosopher's Stone, because you need some magic catalyst. And then you're gonna take one of these 4 strong potions, and you're gonna put it in the left slot, and then you're gonna put gold in the right slot. They will then combine to give you a randomized alchemy tome. A strength potion will give you a tome that increases your strength, obviously. A jump boost potion will give you a tome that increases your jump height. A healing potion will give you a tome that increases your max health. And a speed potion will give you a tome that increases your movement speed. And the attributes are randomized each time, so if you make 2, there will always be one that is better than the other. And if we put the tomes in our offhand, you will see that we get different attributes each time. Now these all use attributes except for the air tome, which uses the jump boost effect. That's just because there's no attribute for actual jump height. The jump strength attribute that you see is just horse jump strength that's being repurposed. Hey, so, editing Bex here. I just wanted to say that this recently changed in the snapshots, and that's really cool. That means that in the next update, I'm going to be able to use an actual jump strength attribute for the air tomes, and I won't have to use the stupid jump boost effect, which means that, much like the other alchemy tomes, you can use potions with the jump boost tome. Now, I don't want to hear anything in my comment section anymore about how Mojang doesn't listen to their player base, because they listen to us. This is a very niche thing for us to want, and they gave it to us. So, yeah, back to the video. Oh yeah, the crafting recipes. You need to know how to make the important stuff. Okay, well first, the alchemy table crafting recipe is as follows. You want a U shape of obsidian, 2 diamonds, a gold ingot in the center, and glowing obsidian at the top. You'll find glowing obsidian in Nether Fortress chests. To get warped warts, you just want to grow some warped fungus, and then craft the warped wart blocks into warped warts. And for the Philosopher's Stone, you're just gonna want to surround a fermented spider eye with glowing obsidian, and then put gold ingots in the corners. So it's been a bit, and I have added a neat feature to Alchemy now. You are now able to combine alchemy tomes in an alchemy bench. So if we put 1 tome over here and 1 over here, you will see they combine and all of the stats get added together. So you'll see all the buffs as well as debuffs get added together into the new tome. So if we put this in our offhand, you'll see that we lose quite a bit of health. However, we get a very large speed buff. You can also combine tomes of different types. For instance, if you combine a fire tome with a powerful water tome, you can get a tome that boosts your health as well as your speed. You can't combine tomes that have already been combined, and if you try to, it just won't work. So I've done some stuff. I have updated the connected panes datapack to the new version that lets panes connect to stairs that are next to them. If I can grab a stair block, you'll see that panes now can connect to stairs that are placed next to them. I've also added a compatibility patch that lets panes connect to Bex's vertical slabs, which means you can create a lot more complex windows like this one. I've changed the way that item frames look, once again inspired by the Tempest box. These are now shelves, and don't worry, items still look pretty nice when displayed in them, and I've slightly adjusted where items appear in item frames to look a little bit better with these shelves. I've also changed the way that bows, crossbows, swords, and shields are rendered in item frames, so that they're a little bit bigger. They're not quite the same size as when a player holds them, but when I made them actually accurate to that size, they were just a bit too big and they looked a little bit awkward. I think this is perfect, and the shields are rendered as if they're actually put on the shelves and hanging up. Let me know how you feel about this in the comments. If we decide that we like this, then I'll extend this to the other tools, such as axes and pickaxes. But otherwise, if we don't like it, then I'll revert this change and just keep the shields. You guys are gonna have to bear with me for this next change. Okay, let me explain. So, I haven't even technically added anything to the game here. All I've done is change how one item renders in item frames. This is actually a feature that I'm borrowing once again from the Tempest box by Dragon14 Zoe. All this does is it changes the way banners are displayed in item frames. So they still work exactly the same, but when you put them in an item frame, it stretches out to cover the whole block. This can be pretty handy for creating banners and signs like this, but if we really flex our imagination, we can create something really, really cool. If we just push our minds a little bit, we can make custom paintings using this mechanic. And it's incredibly easy as well. All it is, it's just banners. So I haven't added any unnecessarily complicated mechanics like painting or anything. This is just a new application for banners. So let's talk about this a little more. I'm sure I need to sell a few of you on it because, well, this is a very odd change to make, having banners display in item frames like this. And this is a very niche use for this feature. So let's look at some uses that aren't so niche. First, we're gonna make a split dye banner, half pink, half blue. Then we're gonna put a white stripe down the middle, doesn't matter which direction. Then we can grab a blue arrow on that side and a pink arrow on the other side. And then if we want, we can also add a little dot or a diamond in the center. The diamond might look best because it'll get stretched down into a square when you put it in an item frame. So what can you do with this then? Well, let me show you. If you put a bunch of item frames on the floor, what you can do is put these banners in the item frame. And then once they're all set down, you can rotate them into whatever patterns you like. So as you can see, with just a bit of creativity and a few banners, you can make some really, really cool floor pattern designs. Yeah, who needs carpet anyway? Am I right? Oh yeah, still think that's not enough? Let's put down some glow item frames. Would you look at that? It's a pretty half-decent green screen, and you don't even have to make a janky, weird map for it. Okay, so let's see if I can green screen. Let's put me in, I'm in Hawaii. That's not Hawaii. So next I want to talk about my custom block methods that I use in Shopping Block, because there are a few and I've never really talked about them, and that's something I really should do for the sake of the other data packers who watch my content. Each system has its pros and cons that I'll go over, but together I find that these are fine for especially a Skyblock based data pack. The first method is using infested stone. This has the advantage of your blocks being searchable in the creative inventory. It's also relatively easy to implement as opposed to other custom block methods. They cause no lag when they're placed, and they cause no lag in the world because they don't get ticked. However, it comes with the downside that you need to pretty much remove silverfish from the game, and most people aren't willing to do that. You also need to create an advancement and a function to detect the blocks being mined so that the silverfish that spawn from them can be voided. And the biggest caveat is that only 7 blocks can be added. So then let's look at another method of custom blocks: unused block states. If you don't know how Whole New World of Color works, it works because all of these blocks are actually double slabs, and when you place a double slab in the world, it gets reverted to just a full block. This allows me to add 100 new blocks into the game. However, again, there are pros and cons to it. The pros are that it's very expandable, and its expandability grows with every update since Mojang keeps adding new slabs. They also cause no lag in the world, and cause no lag when they're broken due to only needing loot tables to handle the drop. However, again, there are some cons. You need to remove most double slabs from the game in order to use this, at least to the extent that I'm using it. It also requires an advancement and a function to detect you placing the blocks. And most of all, it can be buggy. You can cheese the system to allow you to place a block that you normally wouldn't be able to place. Some blocks can also act buggy around lava and pistons. Okay, so we need more solutions because those ones aren't perfect. Next, let's look at item displays inside of transparent blocks, such as the mob spawner. The pros of this are that it's infinitely expandable and it's flexible, meaning the blocks can be, for instance, 2 blocks tall, or they can change textures when certain things happen, or they can have even custom behaviors. However, the cons are that these blocks are very laggy in large amounts, and it requires commands that tick the block so that it can check for certain conditions, such as the block being broken. It can also cause lighting issues when you're using transparent blocks as the base. From here, there's pretty much just one more solution, and that's to create a custom block by putting item displays on every single face of the entity. That way you can have whatever block you want in the middle. There will be no lighting issues. It's still infinitely expandable. Its custom behavior is even more flexible than before, and you can even add a GUI to it. However, the cons are that these blocks get extremely laggy in large quantities. Each of these blocks requires 6 or 7 entities inside of it in order for it to work. And because these blocks are so laggy, I pretty much only restrict them to blocks that will have a GUI, such as the alchemy table or the masonry bench. So when it comes to custom blocks in the game, there are only a few ways we can add them. So when we're adding custom blocks, there are only a few methods we can use. Infested stone, which is not very buggy, pun not intended, but it is very limited. There's the unused block state method, which is still somewhat limited but pretty flexible, but it requires you to use the bone engine in order to use. There's the method with a single item display inside of a block, which works, but like I said, it can get pretty laggy. And there are 6 item displays around a single block, which are very laggy, not very buggy, but very resource heavy in large amounts. And then if we also want to technically consider these, then banners inside of item frames can technically look like custom blocks. Oh yeah, you're probably wondering how this block placing method works, huh? The answer there lies in advanced tooltips, where all you have to do is look and see that it's a barrier with a couple NBT tags. One NBT tag for the name, and one NBT tag for the custom model data. There's an advancement in the game that detects when you place a barrier. The game will then run a series of commands which checks the custom model data of the block you're holding, and depending on that custom model data, will place a certain block, which will either be one of those unused block states we talked about, or a command block with a place function inside of it for a custom block. So essentially, for the blocks using markers, you're placing down this command block every time you place down the barrier. So I fixed a long-standing bug where if you put an item in your offhand, even in survival mode, if it was one of these custom items, you could place it down or use it as a spawn egg, which you're not supposed to be able to do that. So I came up with a solution for this. You still can't place the item in survival mode when it's in your main hand, and when you put it in your offhand, you're still put into adventure mode. But don't worry, this isn't a bad thing. If you hold an item in your hand, you'll see that you're still able to place and break blocks. Although, if you're putting these custom items in your offhand, then you're probably doing something a little weird, so I don't think it is that big of a deal. Plus, it prevents a pretty major bug from happening that can actually ruin the game. And I figured this fix is worth adding even if it can be a little inconvenient, because imagine for some reason you have some copper chunks in your offhand and you're building with stone, and while you're building you run out of blocks and oh no, now there's a warden. This fix, although a little inconvenient, completely stops this bug from happening, and I think that is at least a little bit worth it. On that note, I'm going to be working on fixing a bunch of bugs in Chopping Block behind the scenes, thanks to my wonderful Discord server members who have reported them in the Bug Reports channel. Because it's just bug fixes, I'm not too inclined to include those in videos. However, if you are interested in seeing me fix those bugs and how I go about approaching fixing the bugs, then just leave a comment in the comments below and let me know. And if enough people want to see it, then I will make a video about fixing bugs, or maybe a couple videos. That's all I've got time for in this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Bex, and I'm out. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.